Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Wednesday, the 24th of June. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about the EU is hosting the Taliban for returning migrant talks in Brussels. Ukraine has said the major Crimean bridge has been destroyed in the latest attack, and Turkey has arrested more than 200 people in a crackdown before the NATO summit. So firstly, the EU hosted Taliban representatives in Brussels for talks on returning Afghan migrants and refugees to Afghanistan. The meeting is significant given the EU does not formally recognise the Taliban government, with European nations are facing growing domestic pressure over migration levels, pushing Brussels towards pragmatic engagement with Kabul, despite serious concerns about human rights under the Taliban rule. So what? The EU engaging with the Taliban signals that migration pressure likely now outweighs human red lines for some European governments. What's interesting is I think it implicitly legitimizes the Taliban government without formal recognition, which is a significant diplomatic shift and something, that hasn't been done before. I think you could expect more countries to follow suit. The pragmatic versus principle debate within the EU foreign policy has got pretty hard to win, and I think this is pretty similar for other countries, particularly the UK, Canada, the US, and even some African countries now are seeing significant rises in anti-migration sentiment. And next, Ukraine has claimed to destroy a major bridge in Crimea during a recent strike, dealing a significant blow to Russian logistics in the occupied peninsula. The bridge served as a critical resupply route, and its destruction forces Russia to rely on the land corridor through the occupied southern Ukrainian areas for moving troops and material into Crimea. So what? Due to this, Crimea is now significantly more isolated than it was before, and it's going to be a huge blow to Russian logistics. Due to it, they're going to have to rely on the land corridor more now through southeastern occupied regions, which are hampered by drones in a significant way. I think this will kind of lead to an intensity in air defences and resupply operations through the south, but Ukrainian drones seem to be doing a pretty good job of harassing these, as it's still a significant area to cover, and Russia kind of lacks the air defence capabilities at the moment to cover such an area, mostly just due to losses on the battlefield. And lastly, Turkish authorities have arrested more than 200 people in a security crackdown ahead of an upcoming NATO summit. Ankara framed the operation as targeting terrorist networks, but critics and rights groups raised concerns about the breadth of the arrests. Turkey has a consistent pattern of broad security sweeps before any major international events. So what? This is pretty standard for Erdogan at this point, and it shouldn't be a surprise to many people. He does this for a range of reasons, whether it just be to make Turkey look better, as in there's going to be less protests because he takes out anyone that may protest the event, but also just clearing out any political opposition under the guise of counterterrorism. So, it's pretty normal at this stage. While it's pretty normal for NATO allies to privately raise concerns, I don't think they'll do it publicly, as they're unlikely to want to cause friction between any other countries and Turkey. Turkey has significant leverage within NATO, meaning that no real country is going to push back against Erdogan, and he's going to face little consequence because of it. The biggest leverage they have here is Turkey is the second biggest military in NATO, and NATO and Europe particularly wants to keep Turkey on side as they're a significant player in the Middle East. And, if they were to lose that relationship, it would be pretty quick for Turkey to jump ship and go and probably support the other side. They already play a pretty pragmatic relationship between, the West and the East. So, yeah, I think it's unlikely that any European country or any other NATO country, for that matter, will try and rock the boat at this point. But anyway, that's been the Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See you!